Oh, can you tell I'm a little excited to get going? It's Edge Radio Australia. It is the Greater Wealth. Jared Whitaker by my side, mate. Fantastic to see you.
Always a pleasure.
Oh, incredible pleasure, mate. I don't even think we're going to actually speak today. I think we're just going to go. We've got so much content to go through. I think we'll just kick back and let the videos do their thing, right?
Well, you'll be glad to know it's not hard economic news today. No? It's more about relationship. And let's face it, in business, a lot of it is built on relationship. Oh, we call it relationship equity, whatever it might be. It's so important that relationships are good and stay good. And today we're going to look at a business relationship that, well, we're not sure where it is quite standing at the moment. Okay. It's gotten a little bit interesting. Here's the thing. Trump announces the big, beautiful bill. I love those lines. The alliteration's just
he loves it.
Gorgeous. And he promises in it that he's going to protect over 7 million jobs, raise take-home pay for American families by up to $13,000 per household, reduce taxes for working-class Americans by as much as 13%. And also
13%?
Yeah. Okay. And also reduce the amount of illegal aliens coming in, 1.4 million of them, from Medicaid, and protect programs for truly needy Americans. Now, that all sounds fantastic.
Almost sounds like a campaign slogan, mate. No, really, it's got a bit going on.
It's got a sales pitch, hasn't it?
And a little bit.
The thing about it, though, is that it does affect one little thing.
What's that?
The electric vehicle industry.
Hey, do you know a guy who kind of made himself rather famous on that? Can you think of anyone? I don't know.
And a lot of money, of course, was promised with this. Now, you remember that Elon Musk, of course, Mr. Tesla, has been working very close with Trump administration on Doge, and he recently stepped down. Yes. And so it's kind of like, what do you do now after you've been absolutely revealing all the corruption that's been going on, the wastefulness of the United States? It's almost like I've been doing this voluntarily and I'm changing the nation, and now what happens? Now the relationship has turned a different turn, and this is what's really, really fascinating about this whole story is what's going on. Before I get into that, though, Trump has always wanted a very big positive interest rate. He wants interest rates reduced. Okay. And what you've got to understand is that the Federal Reserve is not a government agency. It's an independent body.
I'm so glad you brought that up, because most of us think, okay, and I certainly did for years and years and years, I thought it was controlled by the government.
The head of it is Jerome Powell at the moment, the federal chair. Let's have a listen to what he said. Very dry, very economic. Stay with it. We'll get there.
My colleagues and I remain squarely focused on achieving our dual mandate goals of maximum employment and stable prices for the benefit of the American people. Despite heightened uncertainty, the economy is still in a solid position. The unemployment rate remains low, and the labor market is at or near maximum employment. Inflation has come down a great deal, but has been running somewhat above our 2% longer run objective. In support of our goals, today the Federal Open Market Committee decided to leave our policy interest rate unchanged. The risks of higher unemployment and higher inflation appear to have risen, and we believe that the current stance of monetary policy leaves us well positioned to respond in a timely way to potential economic developments.
So there you go. Things are going to be stabilized, right?
What a showman. He just made finance sexy.
Yeah. Do you put him on the show or not? You know what I mean?
I'm not sure. Look, I'm sure
you wanted pom-poms and fireworks going off in the background. I know.
That's right. Absolutely. Come on. I've gotten used to Trump now. I need to be entertained.
I want drama. America is so dramatic. Well, let's talk to the drama. So this is going on in the background. So what they're doing is going, look, if we need to reduce interest rates, we've got some buffer here to do so. Yeah. And things, if they get a little bit out of control, we've got buffer. I think America needs that, because right now they're absolutely rioting in Los Angeles at the moment, right?
Yeah, but in LA, they'll riot over everything. Honestly, it's been, sometimes there'll just be random pallets of bricks in the middle of the room, what I'm trying to say, the street, that's what I'm trying to say. The LA is a very different kind of place. You know, we can wind it back to like the early 90s when we obviously had all the race wars going on there. LA seems to, I don't think it's got its finger on the pulse for the rest of the country is what I'm getting at.
True. And you've got Gavin Newsom there, who is the governor, who is basically mismanaged the whole water infrastructure for the United States. We had the fires in Malibu, and now we've got a situation where he's saying, I'm not going to pay my rates as far as tax is concerned to the federal government. And that's really interesting, because what Trump's done is called in the National Guard.
Right.
to basically get control of the situation. I don't think Trump is confident in Newsom's ability to do that.
Is anyone confident about Newsom? No, honestly, he's one of the, well, he's a great politician because he's well-spoken, he's very polished as far as the way he comes across, and he has absolutely zero depth.
And this is a problem that they've got. They've got this guy who is a governor who just is very left in what he does, and they are basically protesting in the United States over the ICE move.
Yes.
That basically these agents can come in and remove people out of the country, these illegal aliens. And a lot of people don't like that, especially the left. So this is going in their state. Now, how much of this is staged as far as these protests are concerned? We don't know.
I would say a lot of it. Look, I made the reference before about the bricks in the street, when we had Black Lives Matter. So much of that was staged that I fail to find any credibility in anything that happens that Newsom is attached to, whether it be just the running of the state, running into the ground, whether it be the water management with the fires, whether it be this. The man is, obviously wants to be president one day. That seems to be what his path is as far as what he's trying to achieve. But he's, to me, the epitome of failing up.
You've got to remember, California is the biggest economy in the United States, with amongst the states.
Yep.
It's massive, right? Our whole economy probably in Australia would fit within the California economy. So this is a big deal, this state, which direction it goes. And you've got dramas going on for investors. They look at that and go, well, do I want to go where somewhere where there's political arrest and rioting in the streets and they're calling in the National Guard? It's not a good look as far as PR is concerned.
No. When
Trump has been out on the campaign attracting $6 trillion worth of investments just to the Middle East, not to mention all the other deals he's done on top of that. Now, I want to look at this. What in this next video, this goes back to the relationship he and Elon have done, and things have turned a little bit sour. Have a listen to what he has to say here.
Said the most beautiful things about me, and he hasn't said bad about me personally, but I'm sure that'll be next. But I'm very disappointed in Elon. I've helped Elon a lot.
Mr. President.
So there we go. They're talking about the relationship. Stuff has gone sour because, of course, this wasn't included, this EV. And Trump's saying, you knew about this from the beginning. This was no secret that the big taxes and cuts that you were going to get, which I'll get to in a minute, weren't going to be on the table and they were being cut from here.
He was well aware of this and well in advance. And let's be absolutely honest, whatever country you're dealing with here, that EVs only become attractive because of these incentives. Without them, in the normal free market economy, they don't stand up. They really don't. Don't get me wrong. There's another side to it. If you live in the city, for argument's sake, you need a city car, you want low emissions, you want something. Plug-ins can actually work. As a car guy, it hurts me to say that, but the fact is they have their place, but they have to be financially viable.
Drill Baby Drill was the campaign that he won the election on, right? Correct. We're going to get Americans working. So he made no secret that this was the agenda. If we have a look at this this tweet that Elon has put out that's next, it kind of shows where this relation is going. And we have a bit of a back and forth as far as social media is concerned. We'll have a look at this one.
I'm going to have to find that one because, for some reason.
I think it was that one you just were hovering
No,
on.
I know that. It is playing games with me here. Is it that one there?
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Okay, so if you read that, it says, without me, Trump would have lost the election. Democrats would control the House and Republicans would be 51 to 49 in the Senate. And then he writes later, such ingratitude. So it's a funny one because Musk is saying Trump would have lost the election without me. And that's arguable.
That's very, very easy to argue. And look, this is a tough one because I don't want to be just two partisan and go pro Trump. I can actually see both sides on this. And as far as a lot of stuff that Elon Musk is actually involved with, I'm not personally on board with. I don't like all the AI stuff. I don't like the chips in people's brains and all of these sorts of things that he's talking about. But I do love the Doge savings. I love the fact of someone going in there and cleaning it up. So, look, he did a lot of very, very positive things. But I think to say that he won the election for him is just a bit...
Yeah. Stretching it a bit.
Just a tad.
Now, Trump, of course, doesn't respond on Twitter. He responds on Truth Social. So let's have a look at what he says on Truth Social. And he says, Elon was wearing thin. I asked him to leave. I took away his EV, electric vehicle mandate, that forced everyone to buy electric cars that nobody else wanted, that he knew for months I was going to do, and he just went crazy. So
What do you say? I mean, honestly, I don't like it when mum and dad fight. It's a bit like that.
Yeah.
There's a lot to it. I think that both men could have shown a lot more class, and I cannot believe I'm saying this. Okay, I feel like I should, I don't know, just put this on loop because it's so unbelievable to me. But I think actually Donald's taken the high ground.
Well, let's have a look at this, because a lot of people are saying on social media it's all a setup.
Yeah,
it's actually being staged. And I think if you look at the thing, I'd love people's comments on this. Is it staged or is it a real conflict? Please put it in the comments there. I'd love to know your opinions as we progress through it. Have a look at what he put out, truthed out later, Donald Trump. He goes, the easiest way to save money in our budget, billions and billions of dollars, is to terminate Elon's governmental subsidies and contracts. I was always surprised that Biden didn't do it.
Mm-hmm.
So there you go. Elon is losing money. Now, put yourself in Elon's perspective for a moment.
Yes.
Right? Through Doge, he was targeted.
Mm-hmm.
His car dealerships were targeted by protesters, funny enough, and we've got more protesters on the streets. People just had it out for him because it looked like he was going on the side of Trump.
Yep.
And of course, what he was doing, US aid or AID, a lot of people going, well, that's our cash flow. What's their Medicare called? It's
Medicaid.
Medicaid, thank you. Funds were being cut from that left, right, and center. And so Elon has actually sacrificed quite a lot to serve his country in that perspective.
He most certainly has.
And he wasn't getting paid for this.
No. Look, it's cost him, you could argue, billions and billions of dollars.
And his share price plummeted on the stock market as well. So his big overall net worth has dropped. And this tit for tat has certainly dropped his share price as well. If we look at the next part here, this is interesting because then it gets rather dirty.
Bit personal, right?
Mm-hmm. Then Elon drops this one. Time to drop the really big bomb at real Donald Trump is in the Epstein files. This is the real reason they have not been made public. Have a nice day, DJT, Donald J. Trump. Now we're getting to a whole different low.
Can I ask a question? Are we in high school? Like, honestly, really? That's something a year 9 girl is going to, that's just rubbish. Absolutely rubbish. Because in my opinion, and I have absolutely zero tolerance for anybody who had anything to do with Epstein Island. Zero tolerance. We can talk about Bill Gates here. He had frequent flyer points. He'd been there that often. The Clintons, obviously.
Royal family.
There's so many people. Now, here's the thing. After all of the carry-on of the last few years, of all of the lawfare we've seen against Donald Trump, if he was on that list, don't you think we'd know about it? Don't you think the Democrats would have taken out? Democrats, what did they spend? I mean, they spent some incredible amount of money. How much was it? Look, I can't remember that. Just on the campaign for Kamala Harris. I mean, Kamala is still sending me, this is not even a joke, I'm still getting messages on Facebook, private messages from Kamala Harris.
Are you?
I am.
Wow.
And what great, it just shows how well she would run the economy when she's literally trying to get an Australian in Australia who is not a US citizen to vote for her after the election. Tell you what, she's a genius, and her people are just as smart. But yeah, look, my point is very, very simple is, don't you think they would have actually, there's no way they wouldn't have exposed this earlier.
Well, it's interesting. So then it comes, the whole narrative shifts to, did Donald Trump, how was he associated with Epstein Island? Let's have a look at the next post here on the videos.
Yep.
This next video is really, really interesting as far as, yep, that's the one.
That's one?
Yep.
Fantastic.
Document, and this goes to the more salacious rumors, but I would like you to just, whatever you can say on it. Obviously, our current president has had relationships with Epstein in the past, and there are those Katie Johnson and maybe other victims who accuse Trump of being involved in things like this. In my experience, Trump supporters will not listen to anything along those lines. Obviously, we're not a court of law here right now, but are those claims of though that case was dropped, it was dropped before it went to court. In your opinion, as a lawyer and your experience, is there anything you can say as to the validity of those claims, or whether or not there will be any more about that?
Nothing at all. The only thing that I can say about President Trump is that he is the only person who, in 2009, when I served a lot of subpoenas on a lot of people, or at least gave notice to some pretty connected people that I wanted to talk to them, he is the only person who picked up the phone and said, let's just talk. I'll give you as much time as you want. I'll tell you what you need to know, and was very helpful in the information that he gave, and gave no indication whatsoever that he was involved in anything untoward whatsoever, but had good information that checked out and that helped us, and that we didn't have to take a deposition of him.
That was in 2009?
That was in 2009. So,
do you know if there's any truth to James Patterson's claims that Trump kicked Epstein out of Mar-a-Lago?
I've definitely heard that. I definitely heard that. I don't know that it was Trump himself as opposed to a manager there.
Trump's club, so
yeah,
people credit him.
I've heard the rumor that Epstein was kicked out of there for allegedly trying to pick up somebody's daughter or something like that. But I think I did chase that down as far as I could, and never was able to confirm it. But I heard it.
So there you go. It doesn't look like he was involved at all. And so what's interesting is when Trump was campaigning in his first campaign, he was very open in terms of discussing this whole Epstein matter. And it kind of suggests if you were actually guilty of doing something, you wouldn't bring it to the forefront, to the world's attention and stage. Have a look at this footage here.
Now, this is number 9.
Mm-hmm.
Nice guy. Got a lot of problems coming up, in my opinion, with the famous island with Jeffrey Epstein. A lot of problems.
Epstein, in your remarks about in the Q&A.
Well, I think he's got a problem. I mean,
what do you think the problem will be?
I don't know, but that island was really a cesspool. There's no question about it. Just ask Prince Andrew. He'll tell you about it. The island was an absolute cesspool. So,
the Clintons are friends
and he's
of
been
yours,
there
right?
for many times.
The Clintons are friends
Well,
of
I
yours.
can't say friends, but I know
You're
them.
friendly. You know them.
They play at my clubs a lot. I have clubs, and everybody likes to play
Are
at
you
my
saying
clubs.
there's a political problem for her if she runs for president?
It could be a political problem. Look, he could be a political problem. Right now, he's Teflon, and right now, maybe not. But he could end up being a political problem.
So back then in around 2015, when it was a lead up to the 2016 election, he was basically discussing it openly in terms of who was associated with that.
And why would you do that if you were vulnerable? No way in the world. And also drop other names like he did, and they're all, and history has shown that, well, those names have come out. I don't know if Prince Andrew would have actually talked about it. I think that Trump's probably a little ambitious.
Well, he was he was running against Hillary back in that campaign.
Yes,
that's what you got to remember. So that's why there's such an emphasis on the Clintons in that instance. Now, this is what's interesting is Trump then threatened to terminate SpaceX government contracts. So there's a lot of money at risk here for Elon in this relationship. Not only do you have SpaceX, but of course there's Starlink. And Starlink is the one that is the internet connection, not only in the United States operating, but also in areas like Ukraine, where, of course, we've got that conflict. That's a lot of political interest for the United States at the moment, and other parts of the world. So you've got a billionaire against another millionaire, multi-millionaire. Is Trump a billionaire?
No, he's definitely a billionaire.
Okay, so you got two billionaires. One of whom is in charge of the country, and the other one's got big powers as far as his business interests are concerned. But that's a big blow as far as both have got power over each other to some extent. Who's got the greater? That's the question as far as the conflict is concerned.
My point would be this: is we're talking about the richest man on earth versus the most powerful, and the distinction between money and power. Both obviously have a lot of money, but Trump is in a position of genuine power right now, and there's a lot of ego going on here. There's a lot of ego. Yeah.
Who has got the next video here? Let's have a look at what is really going on as far as forcing this issue. Okay. Who has actually got that list as far as the Epstein files are concerned? Let's take a look.
Jeffrey Epstein's
Black Book?
Black Book.
FBI.
But who? That is that. I mean, there's.
Oh, that's under direct control of the director of the FBI. Just like the manifesto from the Nashville school shooting of the Catholic school. We still haven't seen that, right? It's not the Nashville police or PD saying we don't want this out. The FBI airmailed into that operation and said this is not getting out. Because they do that because this is another government gangster operation. All these local law enforcement communities get funding from the DOJ and FBI for local programs. And if you don't cooperate, you're not getting your $1 million for this, and you're not getting and that's a lot of money to these local districts. That's how they play the game. That's why you don't have a Black Book.
But the Black Book, it's not just sitting. I mean, that's Hoover power times 10.
And to me, that's a thing I think President Trump should run on. On day one, roll out the Black Book.
There you go. So that was back before Patel was the FBI director.
Well, on that front, have you seen the last sort of, I don't know, 40 odd hours, the fact that Patel has actually been on Joe Rogan?
Oh, I didn't see that. He's been on over there.
I'm a bit concerned, to be honest. I feel a bit uncomfortable about it because he sort of seemed to be backtracking a fair bit for me. He was being, it almost seemed like his hands were a bit tied. So he's saying effectively, of all the information we've got, based on the information that we've got, Epstein killed himself. Okay, that it was suicide, right? That they're saying that because, but
I saw that, yeah.
Yeah, but he's saying that's based on the information. So he's kind of suggesting there's information that they haven't had access to. And obviously, as far as the Black Book goes, I'm a big fan of Patel, but as far as I like the honesty, I like the integrity, I like the transparency. But I'm a little concerned because he just seems to be dancing a little bit at the moment.
If we have a look at the next one, who jumps on the bandwagon? And this is where it gets really, really interesting as far as all this speculation is concerned. The next file, not the image, not the video.
Sorry, that's all right. So what number would that be, mate? I'm sorry, I'm a little lost here.
This would be, keep going up, down. No, down, and then over.
Down.
Over.
No.
No, up.
Oh, we'll find it there. You know, that's definitely not it.
No, go up, across,
up,
down. One.
That
there.
one right there.
Yep,
there we go.
The
Beautiful. Nothing like live, mate, is there. There we go.
So there we go. Then the Democrats jump on this, kill the bill, and release the Epstein files.
Well, that's pretty simple. Tell you what, it was a lot quicker to say it from me than for me to find it.
And so this is really interesting. This is where a lot of people are jumping on, going, right, the Democrats have taken the bait. And
They have.
Because they go, well, who's on these files? Who's on the Epstein list? And they're like, a lot of people are saying, well, that's what Elon and Trump wanted, is for them to play into this trap. That's the theory. Whether you believe that or not is another thing. You've got to remember that Elon was kind of left once upon a time.
Well, very much so.
Before he jumped
was a
on.
Democrat.
Yeah.
He was a Democrat donor as well.
Before he went over to the red. And so there you've got this situation that's kind of like, right, let's grab Elon back to our side now and throw this out there.
I did see that too. And they're also chasing his donorship money as well. So they've already said they will welcome him back as a donor.
Yeah. Have a look at this relationship, this video footage coming up now, because this kind of shows where the relationship was at just a couple of months ago. Again, if you've got an opinion on this, do you think this is a setup or do you think it's a real fight?
Let us know. Throw it in the comments.
Love to know your opinions on it. Check out this.
Okay. Now you bring that up on the screen so you can see it, mate, because hang on.
Yep.
There we are. This is now he deleted it. What's this?
No, that's later. Yeah, we'll do that one later.
My apologies. There we go.
The video.
The video. Now, hang on. I've gone with the number here. What number are we chasing? That'll make my life a little bit easier.
Go up, down. There. That one.
This
that
one?
one. That one there.
Okay.
Okay.
There we go.
If you read and believe the media, he's become one of your best friends. He's working for free for you.
Well, I love the president. I just want to be clear about that.
You don't care about that.
I know. I love the president.
You love the president.
I think President Trump is a good man, and he's, you know.
It's nice the way he said that. You know, there's something nice about it.
Really is. You know, because I mean, the president's been so unfairly attacked in the media. It's really outrageous. And I've at this point spent a lot of time with the president, and not once have I seen him do something that was mean or cruel or wrong. Not once.
He's going to go into orbit soon.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, he's going to go to Mars. He's
Starlink.
At some point.
Huh?
Yeah.
Is in
I mean, they was asking like, do you want to die on Mars? And I say, well, yes, but not on impact.
Starlink is in 100 countries.
So there you go. They were very friendly back in the day.
Full bromance there going on, right?
And so you've got to wonder, well, what was going on and what has changed? Is it staged? Is it a real conflict? Love your comments in the comment section. Put it up there and we'll read it out. If we look at this one here, have a look at the next file. This kind of came out and it was really interesting. It was like Elon starts deleting his posts that he had up there. He says, I'll apologize profusely as soon as there is a full dump of the Epstein files and all that sort of stuff. And then you've got this post was deleted, this post was deleted. You can see that on this file where everybody's dumping in and adding this and all this sort of stuff. He's like, has he realized, maybe I went a little too far at that one?
Here's an interesting thing from my point of view. I've noticed that Elon Musk doesn't normally delete stuff. It's very rare for him to do so. So for him to do that, yeah, look, it's almost like I think there should be like a breath tester on your phone. Okay, you know when you're late at night, you've had a few too many drinks. I know that you don't have this problem, my friend, but for the rest of us, if you had too many drinks and then you start texting the ex-girlfriend, this is a bit like that. Okay, it's a bad call, and I don't understand. Yeah, he should have stopped himself. I don't understand what was going on there. I think it's gone too far.
If you wouldn't say it on radio, if you wouldn't say it on television, why would you say it on social media? It's the same. It's the same play here. If we have a look at this next video here, this is an interesting one with Michael Cohen making a bit of a comment here. He actually testified against Trump once upon a time, but it's really interesting to hear his testimony. Take a look.
Is there a world in which these two transactional guys, Musk and Trump, figure out that it's better not to be fighting and come back together, or you think this
No, I think once Elon went so low in terms of talking about Epstein, and if we can stay on that topic for a quick second, look, I have extensive knowledge of Trump, being by his side for almost a decade and a half.
Right.
Let me dispel all of that notion. While he knew Jeffrey Epstein, and while, yes, he may be in the files in the form of Trump being in the black book, so were hundreds and hundreds of very name-worthy, influential individuals. I have zero knowledge of any relationship between Trump and Jeffrey Epstein, and I would have seen it over the course of
literally, because your prosecution was all about how much you knew, and your testimony to Congress
and I'm telling you, it's nonsense. It's to the best of my knowledge and everything that I know, it's not true. In fact, there was one case that came up. It was a Jane Doe versus Donald Trump that brought this topic into question. And what ultimately I discovered is the Jane Doe, and there was an address in the Bronx. I sent an investigator to that address. I wanted to literally follow and find out who this Jane Doe was. There's not even a building there. It was a vacant lot. And so I reached out to the lawyers. That was the first and only case that I had any knowledge of all of these allegations. So that doesn't mean that the big, beautiful bill, which I call the big, beautiful disaster, is not legitimate and it's not going to affect Americans. Doesn't mean that the other issues, that policy issues that.
So there you go. The big, beautiful bill seems to be the impetus for this tit for tat conversation that's going on social media.
Now, there's a man right there who, quite frankly, who has everything to gain, quite frankly, about trashing Trump, right? I mean, as he said, he actually was there giving evidence against him, all that. So for him to say so strongly that he feels that Trump had nothing to do with it. And the black book is a very good point. I do not want to defend someone who's done something absolutely disgusting. And I think anybody who's been to Epstein Island is disgusting, full stop. But if you made it into the book, doesn't actually mean you went to the island. Okay.
Well, does it? I mean, you might have contacts in your phone book on your phone. You don't necessarily do business with them. If somebody, one of those contacts, then goes and does something untoward, you're not really responsible for their actions. They are, right? I mean, you could. I've walked into situations where you're going to go meet with somebody, and then somebody else is there at that meeting, and they may have done stuff with their past that is untoward or whatever. You weren't expecting to meet them and that sort of stuff. Are you guilty by association? Well, of course not.
No, I'll give a point in just a moment. Truffle shuffle. Thank you. Snuffle. Sorry, truffle snuffle. Now this is great. I haven't actually seen you pop up before, mate. So it's great to see a new follower or listener. Elon the Grey leaves us. Okay, Elon the White will come back and at the turn of the tide. Okay, I don't actually understand that.
Well, what I think they're saying there is that Elon's leaving the public arena at the moment in terms of politics is concerned, but will come back into the White House when things switch from the Republicans to the Democrats. I think that's what they're implying in that comment. And it's an interesting one because there's also another thing that I came across today. And if you look at it from a biblical sense, someone is saying that, he is the Absalom of David. Absalom, if you knew who Absalom was, he was one of the sons of King David who actually tried to win the hearts of the people by staying at the gates of the city as they came in, and he turned traitor against his own father at one point.
Right.
Somebody's making the point: is Elon doing this in terms of betraying David here in the White House? So it's an interesting narrative that is going on. Is it staged? Is it deliberate? Is it actual, a turn?
Look, I don't think it's staged, because I think that if it was staged, there's no way you would have gone near the Epstein stuff. I do see that going near the Epstein stuff was a really great way of antagonizing and exciting the Democrats. I get that, so I can see some value in it. And I just want to actually just dive back to the black book thing, okay? Without going into too much private information, but okay, a very prominent person here in Australia who was in a very high-profile case actually rang me one day, right? Okay, when we were having a chat, we were set to have a chat. We hadn't actually spoken yet. Anyway, this person was actually a political prisoner in this country. Okay, they rang me, and because I was on their phone log, even though we hadn't even spoken, I got investigated. So, you know what I mean? What I'm getting at, the black book doesn't necessarily, just because someone's in your phone or just because you've had some sort of contact, doesn't mean you're doing business with them, or, you know, and this person, had to go through a ridiculous rigmarole, took years to actually clear their name. Look, it doesn't mean you're associated, doesn't mean that you're doing something nefarious, right?
Absolutely. And I think that's what we're going to keep in mind, that common law is not guilty until proven otherwise, right? Whereas martial law is guilty until proven innocent.
Yeah, which we live under martial law.
And that's I'd never want to compromise that in terms of innocent until proven guilty.
I agree. But we live in a society now where that's how the system works.
They're trying to push that through, absolutely.
Alrighty, now the next video.
The final one is there. So if you go to the last slide, that one there, right there. Yep. So
Fantastic.
the summary, kind of the last say on it, if we have a look at that, Elon putting out most entertaining outcome is most likely.
What?
So grab your popcorn, enjoy the ride. Who needs soap opera when you've got this going on with two billionaires as they are? Look, a lot of them have got. What have they got to lose in this situation? A lot.
Is this the greatest trolling of all time?
Yeah.
It's possible, right? It is possible. It's just an incredible process to be part of. I don't know. They may be playing, not 3D chess. It might be 4 or 5D chess. They may be just moving so many steps ahead that we're not aware of what's going on. Let's face it, they've got a lot more information than we do.
Well, they have revealed the files as far as the JFK is concerned and made that public, right? After, 50 years more plus. That was the 60s. So, we'll
62 years.
Yeah. So, and the whole situation that's come out is that it's very likely, it was even implicated by, I think, Tucker Carlson. He got messages from someone within the FBI, CIA, saying, it's very likely that the organization was the one that was responsible for that. So we're getting all this information out. But now it's interesting to see the Democrats pushing and going, let this out. Because why is this big deal from an economic perspective? Because would you, if there's high profile names on there who are millionaires, billionaires, and all this sort of stuff, they've got a lot of money to lose if their reputation is going down. I think this is really important to understand business. Your reputation is incredibly important. So if you're ripping people off, that reputation gets around. Don't do business with so-and-so because they'll rip you off, or somebody is just not doing the right thing by whatever means. Your reputation is so important.
Not great for your reputation
compared to the dollar value that you could earn.
Exactly. And there's a massive dollar value of loss if you're associated with that particular island. I stopped using Gillette razors and threw them on in the bin because of the fact of how their advertising campaign, how they just destroyed men and boys, and particularly attacked boys. So that was my little statement against that, and I haven't used. And guess what? They had an $8 billion, not on my front, but of course everybody who did the same thing, an $8 billion write down on the business. Now that's just an example of how an everyday consumer can make a difference, right? But we're talking big business here. If you're on that list or you come forward as being involved in that smut, then guess what? You are going to lose billions of dollars, and it's going to change the balance of economics and of business deals and the politics of that, and who gets rebates and who doesn't get rebates. Is a lot to it.
It is huge. So there's a lot at risk. And I think if you sum it up, who's got the most to lose? I would say Elon in this situation has more to lose than Trump does.
I agree.
Because everybody's coming out, even those who weren't necessarily Trump fans, are saying, hey, he never went to this level in terms of his association there. And it looks like a bit of a low blow as far as the debate was concerned. Why would you take it to that low common denominator? And I think Trump knows it, and he's just playing it out. He's going, well, we'll see where this goes. I'm disappointed.
He's biting his tongue more than I've ever seen him bite his tongue. He's the kind of guy who has to have a comment. He has to say something. But I do see a far more, certainly in this administration this time around, he's far more measured than he was last time around. And I'm going to throw a little sideways note on this. I mean, Trump doesn't drink, he doesn't smoke, he doesn't use drugs, right? Now, drinking impairs, your judgment. So does drugs. If you're a person who tries to keep that level of clarity, do you think you'd ever lose that clarity enough that you'd get on one of those planes and go to that island? Really? Yeah.
And Trump is a smart guy. I mean, a lot of people don't think he is. He is incredibly smart because, I mean, look at what he's overcome to get into the office that he has and what he had to overcome to do it. Do you think he knows this time he's a lot wiser in the second round here because he has, he was a bit green going into his first presidency term in terms of, he's admitted this. I didn't know who was who in politics, who was good, who was bad, who to play. Yeah, who to trust. Trust equity, bringing us back to our theme here. Yeah. And this time he's a lot wiser as to what's going on, what background, and he's been putting a lot of issues on the line. My wife always points this out to me. Trump puts his enemies keeps them close to him. It was fascinating how he has put so much on the limelight, or shine the limelight in terms of the debate, the discussion. Look what he did with South Africa.
Yes.
Right. Put those issues of the apartheid, not apartheid issue.
It kind of isn't apartheid. It's just
the genocide is the word I'm looking for. Yeah. And as far as the white farmers are concerned, seizing their lands, he put on the forefront the whole Zelensky and Zelensky's attitude to the war. It doesn't look and appear, it made it look like Zelensky wants the war to keep going. He really isn't after peace. This is the sort of exposure that he brings to the light. Elon has to play this smart.
He really does. And to this point, I don't think he has. But then again, he's a lot smarter than me, and therefore he's probably playing it many, many moves ahead. To me, I don't think you can win back those lunatic liberals, okay? And no, I'm not saying everyone who's a liberal is a lunatic, but there are a lot of them. Let's face it, the people who went and attacked the dealerships and all of the kind of carry on. I don't think you win back those people. I think they've moved on to Chinese brands now because most of those people are far more based on ideology and virtue signaling than fact.
And it goes further than that. He won a lot of MAGA people over by working with Doge, right? Elon doing that. Now is he alienating them and pushing back on them? This is really tough because it was one thing to go to the red, from the blue to the red. And now if you start turning on the leader of the red, what are you doing to your brand here?
Well, it's just a little side note on that. Old Jean-Pierre or whatever her name is, who was the press secretary for Biden. Have you seen her flip sides?
No.
Oh, this is just fun.
Has she really?
Yeah, she's now written a book. She's out there flogging the book about how she's an independent now. Right?
Okay.
If you just want to
who needs soap opera?
Oh, you just don't. Honestly, for the last few years, throw away your Netflix. You do not need it. Just watch America. Just watch America Inc. Full stop. It's the best soap opera known to man. But it again, it shows the hypocrisy. You've got a woman who every day stood up and said how incredibly intelligent and just how capable Joe Biden was, and there wasn't the cognitive decline, all of those sorts of things. Well, guess what? She's out there kind of selling that story that, we kind of knew, and I'm moving on. Oh, we don't need to be so partisan now. It just shows how it shows the emotional and intellectual depth of these people. It really does. And it goes back to what I was saying before. I mean this. I think the people who have been virtue signaling so much, they'll just move on to the Chinese brands. They'll leave old Tesla behind. They will, because it's more about saying to their neighbors, oh, I've got an electric car, look how good I am for the environment, right? Hey, check out our Facebook page if you want to see 25 electric buses that are on fire right now, by the way. And the fact that the fire department can't put them out because they're so dangerous. It's a crazy world we live in. And it's an absolute pleasure to sit next to you every day, well, every Monday, mate, and we talk about these things because you bring these things to light. And I do like the fact that, this isn't, we're talking about this show as far as the politics versus the financial world. This has such a crossover. It really, really does.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you've got billionaires who affect our lives. Whether you like it or not, Starlink is in Australia.
Yeah.
All right. So the man in control of that, Elon Musk.
That's right.
With you drive a Tesla car, and there's a lot more of them on the roads thanks to all the subsidies and tax breaks that the last governance before the previous election gave out to move people to renewable energy. Those cars are on the road now, right? And they are. This is affecting our economy in an inverted sort of way.
The economy versus politics. Okay, right now the incentives are for buying an electric car are so good in Australia, like they're crazy good, that you kind of think, maybe I should look at them, right? Like, I mean, from a business point of view, it's almost like a no-brainer. I've never seen incentives that are that strong.
Yeah.
Now that's politics, okay? They're trying to take us in a particular way, and financially, obviously, that's going to be advantageous to whether it be Elon Musk or a Chinese company or whatever the case may be. There's people who are going to benefit from that financially.
The internet is forever. And I think you've got to remember that, guys. And of course, we've seen the danger of those who have spoken against Trump, not counting on the fact that maybe he came back as a president, again for a second term. You thought he was done. And we've seen the diplomacy in Australia kind of go, well, doing an Elon Musk, delete the comment, delete the comment, delete the comment. Better fix the trail that's
Mr.
going on.
Mr. Sheen, our former Prime Minister, old Kevin Rudd, good old Kevin 07. I mean, he's just made a complete fool of himself, didn't he? Because, and I think that Trump has got so much more power and so much more credibility. The fact that he actually missed that middle term, I think it actually has made the second presidency so much more powerful. I really do. Hey, as far as money goes, as far as like your financial future, I want to give a quick plug to you, mate, because I think you do a wonderful job. You've changed a lot of lives with Blue Sky Factory, and my life being one of them, and many people in my life. So, honestly, if you want to get an idea of getting your financial future on target, and that way being able to actually enjoy greater freedoms and actually chase your life purpose, get onto this Mount Blue Sky Factory.
We've got an event coming up on Thursday, a Zoom webinar called Catching the Waves of the Wealth Transfer. It's on Thursday night from 5 o'clock Perth time.
Right.
So if you want to go to Eventbrite and just look up Blue Sky Factory without the EB, or Catching the Waves of the Great Wealth Transfer, jump on that. We'd love to have you on there. We'll be there for about an hour and a half or so, going through what is actually going on in the world, where it places you, what action steps people can take to kind of ride out, as they call the storm, in this new time. What opportunities are there too?
That's right.
That's what gets me, is there's always a silver lining in all of this. And things are changing rapidly as far as the world is concerned in terms of the world of economics. And so I think that at the moment there's generational wealth to be made if you know what you're doing.
Completely agree. And you know what? Let's not ride it out. If you're going to ride it out, do it on a surfboard. Surf out of this, because it is nothing but opportunity. Catch that wave while it's there. But you can't do it without the knowledge. So please get the education on that front. I do notice also that today we've had a lot. I've got the little signal coming up on the computer that tells me that we've got a lot of messages on the other formats today, or the other destinations. So during the week, we'll go back and have a look at those. We thank you very, very much for that. I think that Twitch has got quite a few comments there as well, which is always great. If you enjoyed what you've seen today, please get on board. Help us out. Like, subscribe, and share with your friends. Do the old notification. All those things that all those YouTuber people tell you to do. It is incredibly beneficial, and it helps us do what we do and share, well, quite frankly, the word of the everyday Australian, and hopefully get some education out with that. So this has been The Greater Wealth. Any last thoughts, my friend?
Yes, you need wisdom. You need wisdom in business, wisdom about what you say publicly, wisdom in terms of handling your relationships with people, and wisdom in terms of when things don't go wrong, go right, how do you navigate through that space? Really, really, you need to seek wisdom more than you seek wealth, because the one follows the other. Wisdom is the most important thing.
Mate, you should turn that into a T-shirt. Hang on. Thanks for being part of The Greater Wealth here on Edge Radio.